But what is happening is there's a growing outcry of people of faith. We don't care nothing about Democrat, Republican, and what we care about are the people.
That's right.
And the people that we have to bury when they don't have health care. And that we have a Congress that voted to take 16 million people's health care and then come home and lie and act like they didn't do it.
We are committed to speaking back against those who tell lies about those in need, whether they say they're lazy or they don't deserve or they're taking advantage of government. Those are lies.
No one who voted for this big deadly bill looks like me. This bill is meant to make people with disabilities disappear into a world of unnecessary pain and illness.
We grieve for the very real harm that is being done to very real people.
How does taking help from the oppressed and struggling help the oppressed and struggling?
I have two daughters who will not be able to afford health care. They're both working full time.
Nationwide, about 1.2 million veterans live in households that receive SNAP, and nearly 1.6 million are enrolled in Medicaid. With these cuts, you're not only hurting our community, but you're hurting the ones that sacrifice to go to fight for freedom and to fight for our rights to have these benefits.
It's difficult asking, begging that the government do the people of the United States right.
Because we need to live and be well and be healthy and be safe.
My son shouldn't have to live in fear, waking up in the morning and seeing the utility truck outside and wondering if they're coming to cut our meter off. No one should have to live like that.
These Moral Monday events are the sustained efforts to call on those with power to work diligently on behalf of those without power.
When elected officials retreat into private buildings to dodge their constituents. That's not leadership, that's evasion.
If there's anything now, impacted people ought to be speaking up. All 16 million of you, this country needs to hear from your voice and your vote.
Help us sustain these tax credits, which help people pay less for health insurance.
We've come to stand with and stand for our communities this morning. For you are hurting our people.
And we are praying because we are staying. We are praying because we are standing. We're praying because we're not going to quit. We're praying because we're not going to be quiet. We're praying because we're not going to turn around. We're praying because we're not going anywhere.
We will remain nonviolent, disciplined, and visible.
Because what we must have now is the courage to say something, the courage to tell the truth, and the courage to organize everywhere from the pulpit to the ballot box.
Somebody's been hurting our brothers, our sisters, our families, and we won't be silent anymore.
Let me thank Pastor Petty, Dr. Broom, who's our National Director of Religion for Repairs of the Breach, for Brother Wayne, who also serves as the faith chair for the Poor People's Campaign here in North Carolina, president of the NAACP here in Wake County as well, and as a local pastor. Now, we're not representative of all that have come. We've come here for an emergency press conference today to announce what's going to happen on Monday and why we're going to have Moral Monday in North Carolina and in 19 other states across the country on Monday morning and here in North Carolina, and then later at 7 o'clock in Charlotte. And we wanted to gather the media here to be clear about it. I'm, of course, Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II, Bishop with the College of Affirming Ministries and President of Repairs of the Breach. We are having a reaction to what has gone on when ICE agents finally revealed they were here. They've been here. They were doing their undercover work. We knew they were coming. But one of the things we recognize is that we cannot just have emergency mobilization and then go back, because things are connected. And it's one thing for everybody to gather in mass, but we've been warning this nation since Ash Wednesday of what was coming. We've been saying in the Moral Monday movement all over the South that all of these issues are connected, that the same persons that would pass the big, ugly, deadly bill and cut Medicaid and cut health care, also that same bill gave $150 billion more for mass ICE agents. It's all connected. The same ones that in this state are engaged in gross retrogressive redistricting are the same ones that are saying to these ICE agents, come on in. So in the one minute, they're pushing people out of certain congressional districts, but on the other hand, they're welcoming masked men to come in and arrest unmasked citizens. We understand that movement must be long-term. You cannot just have a fire for a moment and gather everybody for a moment. All of that's great, but it's not just resisting. It's what are we fighting for? And so North Carolina has been in the news this week because our communities have been under assault, and we use that word intentionally, by agents of our federal government. But Moral Monday on Monday is not just about that. It is about the full spread of political attacks. And some have said to us, well, why not just focus only on the immediacy? Because that's how you get where we are today. Anytime we keep organizing in silos, and we only react, and then we come together around one thing, that lack of moral fusion critique actually enables authoritarianism. It enables neo-fascism. We must organize this pain and recognize that the pain comes from multiple places. No one here in Raleigh or in downtown Charlotte or over in Durham or in Cary called for Customer and Border Patrol to come. It's 800 miles to the Canadian border from right here, and 1,500 miles from Mexico. None of our city leaders, none of our local law enforcement said there was a crisis in our state that made this necessary. No, a convicted felon who is the grandson of immigrants, who has lied and tried to criminalize being an immigrant, that's why we are under assault. And MAGA members in the Congress passed a law to take money from the most vulnerable people in our communities and use it to hire masked men and women to conduct these immoral and unconstitutional raids on our community. That's why we're here. They called it Charlotte's Web. That's what they said. We're coming to engage Charlotte's Web. But they forgot, or maybe they didn't read the story about how in the story Charlotte's Web, how the spider got everybody in the barnyard together to save Wilbur.
That's right.
Not to destroy Wilbur.
Yes, sir.
And so since you want to call it Charlotte's Web, then we're going to be the spiders that connect everybody to save our community.
That's right.
A pastor down in Charlotte said, we've built a web of love. We've built a web of trust and truth and justice. And we are calling on all of those who are battling, do not get locked into turf wars. This is not a battle just of the Latino community or the black community or the white community. It's not a battle when voting rights are under attack, that's black people, when Medicaid is people who need it, or when SNAP is poor. It is a battle for the very soul of humanity.
Yes, yes.
And the web that we are building is called moral fusion. And we are committed to stand with our immigrant neighbors and with our neighbors whose health care and SNAP have been cut, to build a moral movement that can reclaim the tools of our government. That's why we're gathering on Monday for Moral Monday in 19 states plus North Carolina. Here in Raleigh and across the country. And on Monday evening, we will be in Charlotte for a Moral Monday meeting, prayer, protest, and the release of Liberty vans that are already here, but Liberty vans, which I'll explain in a minute, and then take questions from the media. We decry the illegal and immoral raids on God's children. We will pray for immigrant families. We will bless Liberty vans to shine a light on the stories of what's happening in the community, both going out and picking up the footage that the other media may not get because they are not in the communities quick enough, and the traumatic footage. We're going to be talking to families and putting it on record of what is happening to them. And we are Monday going to call for emergency action of our General Assembly. Our General Assembly needs to come together for a special session and write a resolution and demand that ICE and CPB cease and desist. They need to write that the Congress of these United States and the President needs to stop attacking our communities and the most vulnerable in our community. Somebody says maybe they won't do it. It's not what they will or will not do, it's what we say ought to be done.
That's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Democrats and Republicans ought to say no to them attacking the thousands of people that are hurt whenever SNAP is cut. Yes. Democrats and Republicans ought to put down party and be statesmen and stateswomen and human beings whenever somebody attacks the thousands of people who need health care.
Yes.
And so, right here in North Carolina, we know that our health care is at risk. Over the past 5 years, the number of North Carolinians who have access to health care through the health insurance marketplace has almost doubled to nearly 975,000 who rely on the program today. Mm-hmm. Understand, my brothers and sisters, you have to have moral outrage about that, just like you have moral outrage about an ICE raid. And the reason is both are deadly.
That's right.
Both are traumatic.
That's right.
If you take people's health care, people die. For every 500,000 people that lose health care, 2,800 people die. If you raid people's houses and grab them and lock them up, they may not die physically, but hope dies.
That's
and
right.
their
That's
peace
right.
dies. And some of them will actually die when you force them back into communities that they left because of the violence back at home. Amen. We know that right now the premium tax credits that make it possible for low-income earners to purchase the Affordable Care Act plan expire next month, which means health insurance will be unaffordable for thousands of North Carolinians. We're gathering Monday because with caskets, we'll be bringing caskets and preaching eulogies over the unnecessarily dead and fighting to protect the lives of the yet living. The big ugly bill slashes Medicaid funding starting next year. And North Carolina's Medicaid program has already started cutting reimbursements 3 to 10%. In other words, right here in North Carolina, people are already being traumatized because Medicaid reimbursements are being cut. This affects everyone because your employer-based insurance will go up when tens of thousands of families leave the poor. Rural hospitals will close. People will die. 1 in 8 North Carolinians are on SNAP, 1 out of 8. And we just saw how our communities were hit when SNAP payments were delayed because of the shutdown. And sometimes we miss these things because it's not conspicuous. Mm-hmm. It's not on the camera. So people suffer and die in silence. And what we're saying is we can't afford to be silent and quiet anymore. The big, deadly, ugly bill not only did these things, but none of this is inevitable. Congress has the power to stop the abuse of power and the violent assault on our communities, immigrant communities, and those who need health care and those who are poor and low wealth. Congress could stop it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And we're coming with caskets to congressional offices in Asheville and Charlotte, to the General Assembly here in Raleigh, and then to church houses in Charlotte in the afternoon to say, you don't have to allow this to happen. There should be a unified cry of humanity and human beings from this state saying, stop these attacks.
That's right.
Congress could not only overturn these cuts, they could pass a budget that invests in making health care affordable for all people. Speaker Johnson could repent and confess that there's nothing pro-life about policies that kill poor and vulnerable people.
That's right.
And when I say kill, I'm not saying it to be hyperbolic. There was a study by Penn, University of Penn and Yale, that says because of the bill that was passed, 51,000 people will die preventable deaths in the first year. North Carolina's delegation, Republicans and Democrats, could call on him to stop. And the vast majority of Americans recognize that we're facing what they call an affordability crisis. But let me remind us, and Moral Monday will remind people, there's no way to address affordability without addressing poverty wages.
That's right.
And living wages. It's not just lowering the prices, because even if the prices go lower but your money doesn't get higher, people still can't afford. In order to address affordability, you have to address universal health care. You have to address child tax credit. How do we pay for it? Corporations have enjoyed record profits while everyone else struggles to pay their bills and can't afford. And so we don't need tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans. No, what we are done with, and I want to say this clearly, we are saying, and we'll say on Monday, that we are done with socialism to the rich and social Darwinism to the poor. Socialism to the rich and survival of the fittest to the poor and low wage. We are done with welfare to the rich and then care for yourself for everybody else. There is nothing anti-American about standing up to greedy oligarchs and say, we paid to educate your workforce, we built the roads to deliver your trucks and to run on. You've got to get your investors of the government dole and do your part. We're not angry because we envy their gilded parties behind locked gates. We're not indignant because we're just mad at folk because they have money. We have righteous indignation because they are killing our people to pay for their rocket ships to the moon. People are dying because of this policy violence. Moral Mondays are about rejecting unnecessary death. Why are we having eulogies and talking about policy violence? Because Coretta Scott King, one of the saints and the mothers of movement, she taught us that violence is not just shooting someone.
That's right.
Violence is starving a child.
That's right.
Violence is making people work for poverty wages. Violence is denying people education. Violence is attacking people's culture. Violence is deporting immigrants and hurting immigrants simply because they are immigrants when everybody but the Native Americans and indigenous people are immigrants or slaves. Violence, she said also, is an apathetic attitude that refuses to address these other forms of violence. Lastly, this past week has showed us part of our own power. We can come together. And what we are saying in Moral Monday is we can't just come together for a moment and then go back. Not only must we come together as a bucket brigade to put out the current fire, we have to come together and stop the fires and the possibility of them in the first place.
That's right.
It's not enough to stop the arsonist fires. Somebody has to stop the arsonists and those who want to burn down everything.
That's right.
And so people have to come together across all of the lines that tend to separate us. And poor and low-wage people, if we come to understand that if poor and low-wage Latinos and poor and low-wage black people and poor and low-wage white people and Asian and indigenous come together and own our power. That's what Ella Baker used to say, own your power. If we own our power, poor and low-wage people now make up 36 to 42% of every voting population in this country. If we own our power, just a few percentage points, 10 to 12 percentage point increase in those who did not vote could change the outcome of elections in this state and across this nation. Did you know that 19 million voters that voted Biden-Harris chose not to vote in 2025, and the number one reason why they did not vote is they said because no one in their minds said enough about addressing the issues that are facing the poor. And when we talk about poor and low wage, let's be real. Even the people that they are deporting are not wealthy. They are the poor and low wage Latinos, the poor and low wage persons in our communities. And we must challenge this. So we are saying that poor and low wage people are not the ones that are driving this extremism. Extremism is being driven by a man and a Congress, all of which who are immigrants themselves or come from immigrants, who have money, who are willing to look the other way at certain crimes, but then participate in the crimes against humanity. And the crime against humanity in America is this: whenever you violate equal protection under the law, our Constitution does not say that you get equal protection under the law because you're a citizen. It doesn't say that for many reasons.
That's right.
It says that any person that is within the borders of this country, regardless of how you got here, must be afforded equal protection under the law. And so now is the time for us to mobilize, not next year. Now is the time for us to organize, and Moral Mondays is not a hit and miss, a one time. We are continuing to grow, to push the moral narrative, and to say to folk that we must demand a ceasing and desisting. So on Monday, we'll preach the eulogies. We'll call for the protecting of the living. We will demand that our General Assembly have a special session, and that General Assembly will vote a special resolution telling the Congress and the White House to stop attacking North Carolinians who need health care and Medicaid and SNAP. Stop attacking our immigrant community. We're calling on them to do what is right. We will attempt to deliver those caskets to those congressional offices, to remind them and show them what's happening in the lives of the people who so often never get seen on camera. And we will call on people to mobilize their votes, to come together in this moment, not just to resist what's happening in the immediacy of the moment, but to mobilize and build power. We will also remind that we are announcing and that on February the 14th, we will be having and calling for a mass moral march on Raleigh, calling for people all over this state and even the country to come to Raleigh as we launch our days of mass voter mobilization and pushing people to organize. And that 3 days prior to the 14th, we will begin a march from Wilson to Raleigh, out of the 1st Congressional District, where people are saying, and we'll say, this is our Edmonds Pettus Bridge. Right. This is our Selma. And that march will be made up of every group of people in this state, not just to resist what is happening, but to say we are pushing this state to be better, and we're going to maximize our power, because the last thing we will ever do in a moment like this is to bow down. We're not going to bow down when our Latino brothers and sisters are being attacked. We're not going to bow down when people who need Medicaid are being attacked. We're not going to bow down when policy is being used to attack the poor and those who need SNAP benefits. We can't, because to bow down with what's happening to others is to fail to recognize that that same injustice is happening to us. And if we bow down to it, then we become accessories to the political violence, and we will not be accessories to that violence.
Bishop, we have our impact.
Thank you so much. We want to take some questions at this time, if you have some from Spectrum News, and then we're going to ask that you would do an interview with our dear sister here who is impacted afterwards, but I know there's some limitations, so I want to see if you have questions at this time.
Two quick ones. I was listening earlier, and there's ways that people in Raleigh can help protect those affected communities, and you've been doing trainings. Can you tell me something about the training?
Well, some of the communities have been doing trainings outside of repairs, different ones of the communities who are already here, as you heard Nancy say, 500,000. But we're here today to announce Moral Monday in 19 states and in North Carolina. That's not just about that, it's about that, but we're connecting the dots. And so there'll be some very specific things, because what we don't want to see is people separate it out. We make that mistake sometimes, you know, we separate out. We've been saying to the communities that the communities needed to be up in uproar ever since the big, deadly, ugly bill was put on the floor. A lot of people don't know that when you fight against that bill, or you fight to see it overturned, or you demand that it be overturned, that inside that bill, $150 billion is provided to ICE agents. A lot of people don't realize that that bill actually blocked many of our immigrant brothers and sisters who qualify for Medicaid from being able to receive that Medicaid. The policy violence is deeply connected. And part of what we're doing with Moral Monday is saying we're not going to be siloed. That's why on Moral Monday, there will be representation and impacted people from who could be hurt with the denial of Medicaid, that's violence. The denial of SNAP, that's violence. Deportations, that's violence. Because in essence, what we have in this season is an attempt to deport our democracy. They're trying to deport love, to deport justice, to deport equality, deport establishing justice. And we have to connect the pain rather than operate separately. Somebody over here, somebody over here. So that is why 19 other states and clergy from those states and impacted people from those states are going to be gathering with caskets in their general assemblies, their congressional offices, demanding the same thing. This is the time when state general assemblies should all be saying, stop it. Stop these attacks, especially in the South, especially in the South. And part of our message is going to be clear, is that it's the same political forces and the same people. If you are concerned about Medicaid expansion, you got to be concerned about the immigrant community being attacked. If you're concerned about the immigrant community being attacked, you got to be concerned about those who are attacking SNAP, because it's the same forces. Yes. It's the same forces. And what we've got to do in this moment is not just have silo resistance over an issue, but what we have to do is recognize in this moment the interlocking injustices, of systemic racism that we see played out in voter suppression, the attacks on our immigrant brothers and sisters, systemic poverty, ecological devastation, denial of health care, the war economy, the militarization of our community, using masked men in the military and with ICE to terrorize our community, and then the false moral narrative of religious nationalism that tries to bless it all. Do you know that right now they are using a scripture from Isaiah to recruit ICE agents? They have out, who will go and whom shall I send? That comes from Isaiah 6. So Moral Monday is saying, yes, we should fight individually, but we have to come together and we have to recognize the policy violence that's in all of this, right? And connect the pain so that nobody is left out, you know, that nobody is dying and being hurt from policy violence, that we speak with one voice and with one sound. And that's why Moral Monday is going to happen, and we wanted to come here today as the organizers to announce it and invite people to come. If you believe in justice, stand with us at 10 o'clock in front of the General Assembly, or wherever Moral Monday is. That's where we'll be, right? In front of the General Assembly? Yes. Yeah, stand with us and come out. Come out. If you can't come out because of what's going on with ICE, then we will remember you. We will hold up our signs, but you come out Come out and be a part of the eulogies and the call for life. Come out and make these demands on the General Assembly. If you're in Charlotte at 7 o'clock, come out to the First Baptist Church West, where black and white and Latinos and others are coming. Come out where we're going to be handing out signs that say, no trespassing. You don't have a warrant, don't come on my bed. We're going to be handing out 500 to 1,000 signs, asking people to put them up all over the community. We're going to bless the Liberty vans, where we will have wartime reporters with professional drivers and pastors and lawyers who are committed to the law as it relates to immigration law, driving around the city at night, the times that they're not expecting it, monitoring what's going on, finding those stories that you might never see on the news because of the way ICE operates in the middle of the night. We're saying everybody that's being hurt and rejected and facing the pain of this moment of political violence and policy violence, the pain must drive us together. We must come together in this moment. We cannot afford to fight separately and alone. We must come together, and we must not only resist, but we must rally our power. Right now, the Congress of the United States is made up the way it's made up. People sit where they sit because of 7,000 votes in a country where 90 million people chose not to vote last year. More people chose to vote than voted for the candidates individually. Not one candidate got 90 million votes. 90 million votes. In this state, over 1,200,000 poor and low-wage people didn't vote. Some 600,000 African Americans did not vote. The election for president was determined by under 190,000 votes, less than 19,000 votes per county. We can't just resist.
That's right.
We have to rally our power. And so that's why Moral Monday is happening on Monday, and we wanted to announce it here today.
We stand here today as clergy, not because it is easy, and certainly not because it is safe, but because our faith traditions do not permit silence when suffering becomes law. Across this nation, we are watching a pattern of policy that strips people of the most basic dignity. SNAP cuts that starve households, Medicaid limits that ration human life, and immigration raids that separate children from their parents during the sun rising. ICE agents wait outside schools, stalk families in courthouses, and knock on doors with weapons while lawmakers shake those same hands at fundraisers and state dinners. Let's be clear, this is not security. This is state-sanctioned fear, and fear is not a building block of democracy. Every sacred text we represent speaks a common truth. The Torah commands us 36 times to care for the stranger. Jesus, born a refugee, said, "I was a stranger and you welcomed me." The Quran calls hospitality a holy duty and harming the stranger a spiritual offense. These are not suggestions, they are moral standards. So when policies begin to terrorize communities, clergy must become a firewall against injustice. We are not naive, we know the truth. Poverty is not a failure of character, it is a failure of policy. Immigration is not a crisis, hunger is not a crisis, poverty is not a crisis. The real crisis is moral indifference. We see mothers working 2 jobs who still can't afford medicine. We see seniors who count pills because their Medicaid hours are cut. We see immigrant children who sleep with shoes on just in case ICE home comes before breakfast. And when we see these things, our scriptures tremble. Read Amos, you trample on the poor, you push the afflicted out of the way. Read Isaiah, woe to those who write unjust decrees. Read the gospel, Jesus heals on the Sabbath because mercy cannot wait for permission. So we are not here to comfort power. We are here to confront it with prayer, with truth, and with organized moral resistance. Faith is not private. Faith is public. Faith shows up at school board meetings, jail visits, Medicaid hearings, and immigrant detention centers. We are clergy, and clergy do not hide from crisis. We stand in the breach. We roll up our sleeves. We pray with our feet. Let it be known, we speak not from anger, but from love. A stubborn, justice-seeking love. A love that refuses to bow to cruelty. A love that will not cower to fear. A love that dares to call this nation back to its conscience. As long as lawmakers legislate suffering, as long as children go to bed afraid, as long as life-saving health care is treated like a luxury, we will not be silent. That's right. We will not back down. Amen. We will not abandon our call. We are clergy and moral leaders, and until every neighbor can stand with dignity, our witness will continue. Right. We're standing here together. That's right. That's right. Now, Bishop William Barber II. Tell them who you represent. I am Reverend Dr. Hannah R. Broom, Director of Religious Affairs for Repairs of the Breach, and an organized AME Zion elder. President. And President of the North Carolina Council of Churches. Hannah, Hanna, Broom, Broome.
Hannah, you can hold this.
I'm Reverend Wayne Wilhelm. I'm the Faith Tri-Chair for the North Carolina Poor People's Campaign. And we are grateful to stand here today and support, to stand with, and to join with Repairs of the Breach, to join in with everyone that stands against this fight of injustice against all of our community. And as clergy, we come here today to stand and to celebrate all of the clergy that have stood this week alone, to stand against all of the terrorizing of our communities and neighborhoods. And as faith leaders came together, they said, we will not be silent, we will welcome in those who you try to marginalize and disenfranchise, that we will continue to support and do what God has said do, is to do justice and love mercy and walk humbly with our God. This sometimes becomes a difficult task, but God has called us. And when we have this task, it is just like Jeremiah and just like Paul, woe unto us if we do not stand up and speak truth. If we do not stand up and speak what thus saith the Lord. As people are hurting from loss of health care, loss of SNAP benefits, and now from ICE and CBP officials in our communities and in our neighborhoods, we stand with this community, we stand for our community, and we stand with one another across all faith lines, across all moral lines. All of our faith traditions tell us how we should love and care for one another. And it's this time that we will continue to stand, and we will not bow down, we will not back down, and we will not be silent anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Nancy, you good?
Nancy Petty, NANCYPTTY, pastor of Pullen Memorial Baptist Church. I think what I would add is that Tuesday night, here in this sanctuary, 500 Wake County citizens gathered to learn how to be trained on how to resist ICE, how to surround and keep our neighbors safe when they're under attack. And so I think, one of the messages that we need to put out there in the face of this terror that is being put upon our communities, upon the immigrant families in particular, is that we are organized and we are ready. There were school teachers here, school administrators, there were clergy was here, and business owners were here. And for 2 hours, standing room only in this sanctuary, the good citizens of Wake County gathered to keep their neighbors safe, to protect, and to say, we're not just going to stand by and let this happen. And so, along with Repairs of the Breach and the Poor People's Campaign with Bishop Barber leading us, we will continue in Wake County and North Carolina and organizing all across the nation to resist this administration and their amoral policies that they're governing with. And so we have to stand together and stay strong. Our folks are already signing up for Moral Monday, so we'll be there as well. There's not one action that's needed right now. So training is needed. But tomorrow, Sunday morning, this front of this sanctuary will be full of food because Urban Ministries is out of food in Wake County, and people are going hungry because SNAP benefits have been cut. And so while we fight the larger fight at the General Assembly and going to Moral Monday and standing up to our elected leaders, we also have to take action on the ground. We got to feed people who are hungry while we fight. We've got to take care of people's health while they're sick, while we fight for their health care. And so I would put out a challenge to every faith community that's listening. Members, take food to your church on Sunday. And get it to the food banks where you live so that people are hungry can eat while we fight for their rights to have food and to have health care. And so I just wanted to say that because people, as a pastor, people are always asking, what can we do? Well, we can show up Monday for certain. But we can also share our food and care for one another.
And I think, Pastor, it's important to say that because it's not one thing.
That's right.
And that's why I want you to talk to them individually. I want to close this because we've been on the press long enough. It's not one thing. And this young lady, I want her really to be heard on Monday. She's going to speak Monday. Because what I want is for folk to see her with somebody without health care, with somebody with SNAP, so that the picture comes across that it's not just one thing. That people, and the power we have if we stand together. Right now, my wife is in Wilson because they ran out of food.
That's right.
And she's organizing food. We got to do it all.
That's right.
And it's got to be long term. This is not the time to say I sent a text, hallelujah.
That's right.
I held a sign, praise the Lord. You know, and we have, this is a marathon of movement building, right? So and it's important, we came here to announce, but and we had planned the two of the impacted people couldn't be here, one with SNAP, one with Medicaid. So on Monday, we want folk to come so they can put a face on these numbers, not just see this number.
That's right.
375,000. But who does it look like? Not just see human beings are not illegal, but who does it look like?
That's right.
Not just see 275,000 people Medicaid threat. Who are we talking about? That is the challenge of this moment. That is the challenge of the moment. Because authoritarianism, and I'll take the last question, authoritarianism that we are seeing oftentimes operates, I bet you they'll quit. I bet you they'll do one action and go away. Somebody said to me today as I was coming here, they said, ICE is gone now. They're gone now. I said, what do you mean they're gone now? They said, they're not going to be in Charlotte. I said, first of all, they were here before they went public. And they're never gone. What we saw this week was a test.
That's right.
They were testing to see how the community, every time a piece of bad public policy is voted on, Nancy, it's a test. This big, bad, beautiful bill was a test. Let me test. Let me see if I can take 16 million people's health care and what will they do? Let me see if I take 22 million people's health care, what will they do? Oh, they didn't. Oh, well then now let's take the subsidies and see what happens.
That's right.
And what we must do is ensure that they find out through the testing that we get quite testy when you start hurting all of our people.
That's right.
And that your test is going to backfire. Because what you're going to find is not us walking away, running away, and standing down. But every act is going to embolden and intensify our agitation to the point that we won't just be reacting, we're going to be proactive in what we do. Join us on Monday, right in front of the General Assembly, and then 7 o'clock in Charlotte at the First Baptist West. And then if you all would talk to my dear sister just individually, but also I want to remind you that she will be here on Monday with other persons. All right? Thank you so much.
I cannot believe the cruelty, the inhumanity that has come out of Washington, D.C. and out of our elected representatives.
But what is happening is there's a growing outcry of people of faith. We don't care nothing about Democrat, Republican, and what we care about are the people.
That's right.
And the people that we have to bury when they don't have health care. And that we have a Congress that voted to take 16 million people's health care and then come home and lie and act like they didn't do it.
We are committed to speaking back against those who tell lies about those in need, whether they say they're lazy or they don't deserve or they're taking advantage of government. Those are lies.
No one who voted for this big deadly bill looks like me. This bill is meant to make people with disabilities disappear into a world of unnecessary pain and illness.
We grieve for the very real harm that is being done to very real people.
How does taking help from the oppressed and struggling help the oppressed and struggling?
I have two daughters who will not be able to afford health care. They're both working full time.
Nationwide, about 1.2 million veterans live in households that receive SNAP, and nearly 1.6 million are enrolled in Medicaid. With these cuts, you're not only hurting our community, but you're hurting the ones that sacrifice to go to fight for freedom and to fight for our rights to have these benefits.
It's difficult asking, begging that the government do the people of the United States right.
Because we need to live and be well and be healthy and be safe.
My son shouldn't have to live in fear, waking up in the morning and seeing the utility truck outside and wondering if they're coming to cut our meter off. No one should have to live like that.
These Moral Monday events are the sustained effort to call on those with power to work diligently on behalf of those without power.
When elected officials retreat into private buildings to dodge their constituents. That's not leadership, that's evasion.
If there's anything now, impacted people ought to be speaking up. All 16 million of you, this country needs to hear from your voice and your vote.
Help us sustain these tax credits, which help people pay less for health insurance.
We've come to stand with and stand for our communities this morning. For you are hurting our people.
And we are praying because we are staying. We are praying because we are standing. We're praying because we're not going to quit. We're praying because we're not going to be quiet. We're praying because we're not going to turn around. We're praying because we're not going anywhere.
We will remain nonviolent, disciplined, and visible.
Because what we must have now is the courage to say something, the courage to tell the truth, and the courage to organize everywhere from the pulpit to the ballot box.
Somebody's been hurting our brothers, our sisters, our families, and we won't be silent anymore.